Alright, hey everyone and welcome. I'm your host, Mr. Sengupta, and man, have we got a journey for you today? Welcome to our deep dive into the ancient mysteries of Texas that continue to baffle scientists and historians alike. From enigmatic rock formations to puzzling archaeological finds, these mysteries challenge our understanding of history and spark the imagination. We're peeling back the layers of the familiar Texas, the cowboys, the oil fields, the Friday night lights to uncover a side that's far older, far stranger, and frankly, far more mysterious than you might think. This isn't just about dusty relics, it's about questions that echo from the distant past, questions that modern science is still grappling with. Think about it. A land as vast and diverse as Texas, with a history stretching back thousands, if not tens of thousands of years, it's bound to have its secrets, right? We're talking about whispers of lost civilizations, structures that defy easy explanation, and artifacts that just don't seem to fit the conventional timeline. These aren't just campfire tales. These are genuine enigmas that have attracted serious researchers, dedicated investigators, and yes, a fair share of curious adventurers like us. Each one is a piece of a much larger puzzle, a puzzle that hints at a past far more complex than we currently comprehend. So buckle up, because we're about to embark on an expedition right here in the heart of America. We'll be sifting through the evidence, exploring the theories from the mainstream to the admittedly out there, and trying to get a grasp on these incredible Texan conundrums. This is your invitation to join me as we explore these incredible sites and stories, to question what we think we know, and to marvel at the enduring power of the unknown. Let's get into it. Our first stop takes us to North Texas, to a town called, appropriately enough, Rockwall. And the name isn't just a coincidence. For over a century and a half, there's been a simmering debate about a massive buried stone formation that snakes its way beneath the earth here. Discovered by farmers back in the 1850s while digging a well, this isn't just a random scattering of rocks. We're talking about what appears to be a carefully constructed wall, sections of which have been unearthed, revealing surprisingly uniform large stones that seem to be fitted together, almost like ancient masonry. The immediate question that sprang to mind then, and still echoes today, is a big one. Was this incredible structure built by human hands, or is it a fantastic trick of geology? Those who champion the man-made theory point to some compelling, if not entirely conclusive, evidence. Early accounts described sections of the wall that appeared to have arched openings, almost like windows or doorways. There are reports of what looks like mortar between some of the stones, and the sheer scale of it, potentially miles long, suggests a monumental undertaking, far beyond what you'd expect from natural processes. Local legends have swirled for generations, with some even speculating it could be the remnants of a prehistoric fortress or even a city. Imagine the implications if a structure of this magnitude predates known civilizations in the area. It's a tantalizing thought, and one that keeps the mystery very much alive in the local consciousness and beyond. However, the scientific consensus for the most part leans towards a natural explanation. Geologists have studied the formation extensively and propose that it's a series of clastic dikes, specifically sandstone intrusions that forced their way through softer shale millions of years ago. The stones are thought to be the result of weathering and jointing within these dikes, creating patterns that coincidentally mimic man-made construction. The mortar could be mineral deposits. While this explanation is geologically sound, it hasn't completely quelled the debate. The regularity, the sheer size, and those intriguing early accounts keep that door of possibility just slightly ajar, making the rock wall a true Texas enigma. Now, let's head out to the vast, windswept plains of the Texas Panhandle, to a place called Adobe Walls. This site is famous in Texas history for two pivotal battles involving buffalo hunters and Native American tribes in the 19th century. But beneath the soil, and predating those well-documented conflicts, lie whispers of something much older, something that hints at a sophisticated settlement whose story has been largely lost to time. We're not just talking about a few scattered arrowheads here. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of substantial, well-constructed adobe brick structures, suggesting a more permanent and organized way of life than typically associated with nomadic plains cultures of the deeper past. What makes these findings so intriguing is the apparent level of advancement in the construction techniques and the layout of the settlement. We're looking at multi-room dwellings, possibly even communal buildings, all meticulously built from sun-dried adobe bricks, a technique that requires a certain level of planning, resource management, and community effort. Artifacts found in association with these structures point to a people who were skilled hunters, but also engaged in trade, with items discovered that originated from hundreds of miles away. The question is, who were these people? Were they an isolated group that developed these techniques independently, or were they connected to the larger Puebloan cultures to the west? Their identity remains a fascinating puzzle. Perhaps the biggest mystery surrounding this ancient adobe wall settlement is its sudden disappearance. The archaeological record seems to indicate that the site was abandoned relatively abruptly, and there's little evidence to suggest a catastrophic event like a massacre or a widespread disease. One moment, there's a thriving community, and the next, it seems to vanish from the landscape, leaving behind their homes and many of their possessions. Theories abound, of course. A prolonged drought could have forced them to migrate, or perhaps they were gradually assimilated into other, larger groups. But the lack of a clear answer leaves a haunting sense of an unfinished story, a chapter of Texas history that's waiting to be fully read. Our next destination takes us to the rugged, otherworldly landscape of Hueco Tank State Park and Historic Site near El Paso. For thousands of years, these massive rock basins, or huecos, have been a vital source of water in an otherwise arid region, drawing humans and animals alike. But it's not just the life-giving water that makes this place so special. The rock shelters and overhangs here are adorned with an incredible array of pictographs, ancient paintings left behind by various cultures over millennia. We're talking about thousands of individual images, a vibrant silent gallery telling stories we're still trying to decipher. The sheer diversity and enigmatic nature of these petroglyphs are what truly capture the imagination. You'll find depictions of animals, human-like figures, and a vast number of abstract designs, intricate geometric patterns, mesmerizing swirls, and strange mask-like faces that stare out from the rock with an almost otherworldly intensity. Some images are clearly identifiable, perhaps representing hunting scenes or important events. But many others are deeply symbolic, their meanings lost to the ages, or perhaps only ever intended for initiated members of the cultures that created them. Archaeologists have identified contributions from various groups, from ancient desert archaic peoples to later Jornada Mogollon and Apache artists, each adding their own layer to this complex tapestry of rock art. Naturally, when faced with such ancient and abstract imagery, theories about their significance flourish. Mainstream interpretations suggest they could be related to religious ceremonies, shamanistic visions, records of celestial events, or even maps marking important trails or resources. However, the more unusual and abstract designs have also fueled more speculative, fringe theories. Some observers have pointed to certain figures as resembling helmeted beings or strange craft, leading to suggestions of ancient astronaut visitations. While these ideas lack concrete scientific backing, they speak to the profound impact these images have on our modern minds, forcing us to consider every possibility when confronted with messages from a distant and very different past. Alright, let's wade into some truly controversial territory now. The persistent and often sensational tales of giant skeletons supposedly unearthed right here in Texas, and indeed across North America. These aren't just your average tall tales, we're talking about reports, often from the late 19th and early 20th centuries, describing human remains of extraordinary size, 7, 8, even 9 feet tall or more. These accounts frequently appeared in local newspapers and journals of the time, sparking immense public curiosity and fueling speculation about a lost race of giants who once roamed the land. The idea itself is captivating, tapping into ancient myths and legends found in cultures worldwide. Many of these reports provided surprisingly specific details: the location of the find, often ancient burial mounds or caves, the estimated height of the skeletons, and sometimes even descriptions of unusual skull formations or double rows of teeth. For example, there were stories from places like central Texas or along riverbeds where settlers or amateur archaeologists claimed to have stumbled upon these oversized remains. The narratives often suggested these giants were a sophisticated people, sometimes buried with elaborate artifacts. The allure of such a discovery, proof of a previously unknown chapter in human history, a different kind of human altogether, is undeniably powerful. However, this is where the story takes a sharp turn into the realm of the unverified, and for many, the highly skeptical. Despite the numerous historical accounts, there is a conspicuous lack of verifiable physical evidence. No major museum in Texas, or anywhere else for that matter, has a confirmed giant skeleton on display that fits these extraordinary descriptions. Mainstream archaeology and anthropology do not recognize the existence of such a race. This absence of proof has, perhaps inevitably, led to a whole host of conspiracy theories, with proponents claiming that evidence has been deliberately suppressed, possibly by institutions like the Smithsonian, to protect established historical narratives. It's a classic case of intriguing folklore clashing with the demand for scientific rigor, leaving the Texas giants as an enduring, if highly contentious, mystery. Our journey now takes us to Nacogdoches, one of the oldest towns in Texas, and to a structure known as the Old Stone Fort. On the surface, its history seems fairly well documented. Built around 1779 by a Spanish colonist named Antonio Gil Yabarbo, it served various purposes over the years: a trading post, a private residence, a saloon, and even a makeshift fort during various Texas revolutions. It was dismantled in the early 20th century but then reconstructed on the campus of Stephen F. Austin State University in the 1930s, using many of the original stones. So far, so good. A typical colonial-era building with a rich, if conventional, history. But here's where things get a little more interesting and a lot more mysterious. Over the years, particularly during its original existence and subsequent archaeological investigations, certain artifacts and architectural anomalies have been noted that don't quite fit neatly into the Spanish colonial narrative. There have been whispers and some documented accounts of unusual stone carvings, foundation elements that seemed older or different in construction style than the main structure, and artifacts found in the vicinity that hinted at a much deeper pre-colonial occupation of the site. The very choice of location, a prominent rise overlooking a creek, is typical for defensive or ceremonial sites across many cultures. This has led to speculation that Yabarbo might not have built his fort from scratch, but rather repurposed an existing, much older structure, or at least built upon its ruins. Who could have built such an original stone edifice? Some theories point to advanced Caddoan groups who were known for their sophisticated mound building and settled agricultural societies. More fringe ideas, as they often do, suggest pre-Columbian visitors from other continents, though evidence for this is scant. The challenge lies in disentangling the layers of history. Was the Old Stone Fort purely a product of Spanish colonial ambition, or does it stand guard over secrets of an even more ancient Texan past? The stones themselves aren't talking, but the questions they raise are compelling. Let's shift our focus to a widespread yet surprisingly enigmatic archaeological culture known as the Toya. Flourishing roughly between 1300 and 1650 AD, the Toya people inhabited a vast swath of Texas, from the Edwards Plateau in central Texas, spreading south and west. What we know about them comes almost entirely from the material culture they left behind. Distinctive artifacts that tell a story of adaptation, hunting prowess, and ultimately, a mysterious disappearance from the archaeological record. They weren't pyramid builders or city dwellers in the traditional sense, but they represented a significant and successful adaptation to the Texan landscape for several centuries. The Toya toolkit is quite specific and recognizable to archaeologists. Their signature artifact is the Perdiz arrow point, a small, slender, and finely crafted projectile point that is found in abundance at Toya sites. They also manufactured a distinctive type of bone-tempered pottery, often quite plain but durable, and utilized a range of bone tools, including bison scapula hoes and awls. This assemblage suggests a mobile hunter-gatherer lifestyle, heavily reliant on bison, but also exploiting deer, small game, and plant resources. They appear to have been highly efficient hunters, adapting well to the changing environment and the increasing importance of bison on the southern plains during their time. Then, around the mid-17th century, the classic Toya artifact assemblage seems to just fade away from the archaeological record. It's a rather abrupt end for a culture that was so widespread and seemingly well-established. What happened to the Toya people? There's no single definitive answer, which makes their disappearance a true Texas mystery. Some researchers theorize they were absorbed or displaced by the incoming Apache, who were expanding into the region at that time. Others suggest that European diseases, arriving ahead of direct European contact, could have decimated their populations. Climate change, leading to shifts in bison herds or other crucial resources, is another possibility. Whatever the cause, the Toya culture effectively vanished, leaving archaeologists to piece together their story from the silent clues they left buried in the Texas soil. Now we venture into one of the most debated and often sensationalized corners of archaeological mystery, OOPArts, or out-of-place artifacts. These are objects that, by their alleged level of technology, their material, or their apparent anachronistic context, simply don't seem to belong in the time period or location where they were supposedly found. Texas, with its rich and varied geology and long history of human occupation and amateur digging, has had its share of such claims, each one igniting a firestorm of speculation and controversy. These finds challenge conventional historical and scientific timelines, suggesting either our understanding of the past is incomplete, or that something very unusual is going on. One of the most famous items often associated with Texas, though its exact origins and context are heavily debated and often misreported, is the London hammer. This is an iron hammerhead, encased in what appears to be ancient concretionary rock, supposedly found near London, Texas, in the 1930s. Creationists and proponents of ancient advanced civilizations have touted it as evidence that humans, or at least sophisticated tool-making, existed far earlier than mainstream science accepts, perhaps even in the Cretaceous period. Then there are persistent, though less substantiated, claims of things like Roman coins or Mediterranean oil lamps being found in contexts that would suggest pre-Columbian transatlantic contact. Each such find demands intense scrutiny. Of course, the world of OOPArts is fraught with challenges. Many supposed out-of-place artifacts, upon closer scientific examination, turn out to be misidentified natural formations, geofacts, items from a known later period that became intrusively buried in older strata, or, in some cases, deliberate hoaxes. The London hammer, for instance, is considered by most scientists to be a 19th-century miner's hammer that was dropped and subsequently encased in rapidly forming concretion. However, the allure of these objects persists because they tap into a desire to believe in a past more wondrous and mysterious than the textbooks describe. They force us to question, to investigate, and to always be open to the possibility that there are still incredible discoveries waiting to be made, even if many OOPArts ultimately find more mundane explanations. And there you have it, a whirlwind tour through some of Texas's most perplexing and persistent ancient mysteries. From the massive, potentially man-made rock wall, to the whispers of vanished cultures like the Toya and the ever-controversial OOPArts, it's clear that the Lone Star State holds far more secrets beneath its sprawling landscapes than many might imagine. These aren't just isolated puzzles, They are interconnected threads in a vast, ancient tapestry that we are only just beginning to truly appreciate, a testament to the deep and complex human story that has unfolded here over millennia. Each unanswered question, each enigmatic site, serves as a powerful reminder of how much we still have to learn about our own planet and the diverse peoples who came before us. The pursuit of these mysteries isn't just about finding definitive answers. It's about the thrill of the chase, the intellectual challenge, and the way these enigmas push the boundaries of our knowledge and ignite our collective curiosity. It's a journey that requires open minds, rigorous investigation, and a healthy respect for the unknown. These ancient mysteries of Texas remind us that our past holds many secrets yet to be uncovered. As we continue to explore and investigate, who knows what other fascinating discoveries await? The next incredible find could be just around the corner, waiting for a curious mind and a keen eye. So, keep asking questions, keep exploring, and never lose that sense of wonder. Stay curious, and thanks for watching.